marvelous Martin Kennedy. Good morning, Martin. Hello, Martin. I'm also joined by the brilliant Ben Wildman, but I'm kind of wondering that Martin can't hear me. Hi, Ben.
Now then, you all right?
I'm good. I'm good. Martin, you can't hear us or we can't hear you. He's just sitting there looking blankly. This is a brilliant start to the show. All right, good morning, everyone. Well, let's crack on. We will give Martin a chance to join in. In the meantime, we are live on LinkedIn and YouTube and one of the other ones, Facebook, why not? So today we are going to ramble through our usual selection of news. Ben, let's just have a quick look because we can start with you. This is really interesting because you picked a fight on the internet this week.
Did I?
Yeah, with someone that we really like. Let's just have a quick look and you can tell us what is happening here. So here, one of our really good friends of the show, Pete Matheson, was saying that in response to your live last week, that there is some evidence actually that electric cars are slightly better for the environment. And he put out this nice little article to which you wrote a book in response to say that you're not convinced. So
I am convinced. Basically, I think the key point is the environmental impact is gained over the lifetime of the actual electric car rather than effectively from day one, because it doesn't literally put out any emissions, obviously, other than like rubber and brake stuff flying everywhere. In terms of actual emissions, it's a lot better, obviously. But yeah.
is it though?
But yeah, is
Because
it
in the
really?
pre-stream you were ranting and shouting and all sorts and got really angry about it. Because I just look at it and go, look, it's electric cars. We charge them up at home, and even driving to work, I can see that there's less emissions because the walls along the side of the road are black with all the output from the cars. That's not going to happen anymore. Surely this is better. Surely we're all breathing
Oh, it's
better
a
air.
long time away, in my opinion.
Is this it? Is this that where I'm kidding myself really, because actually all that's happening is that I'm not seeing that in the city centres, but actually outside of town where the coal-fired generators are, we're having to produce much more electricity. Is that the idea?
Well,
Essentially, yeah.
yeah.
And
I don't see how they're practical at the moment either. Infrastructure-wise, I know we hear that all the time. Not a single person in my street could have an electric car unless they take away their back gardens and drive in, which none of them do. You've got nobody to charge.
For charging points. Yeah. Okay.
Run extensions everywhere. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, trip hazard, bits of tape across the pavement.
But yeah, I mean,
Charge
I
it
guess
with your neighbours. Just keep everybody swapping them over.
My other point was basically, he's on yours, is who's going to pay 20 grand for a VW up when you can get the same one in petrol variant for like 11 or 12? So
Yeah.
Oh, so you think that there's you're being penalised for going greener because it's a
Yeah.
9k uplift on the same car.
yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I
it's
guess
pretty much the
it's-
same car. Yeah, there's
I was
no.
going to say on the up, is it basically the same car? So all they've done is they've taken the engine out and they've put a motor in,
Pretty much, yeah.
and it's the same gearbox, the same transmission,
Yeah.
everything's the same.
It's a bit different when you
Unlike
compare.
a Tesla,
Exactly,
where
yes, that's what I want to say. Yeah.
it's 4 separate motors, and it's a very, very different system. There's literally no gearbox or transmission or any of that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, the up's a little tiny milk float sort of idea.
No, I've seen
Yeah.
them. Yeah. Tiny
It's
little
pretty
things.
much. It's pretty like the City Go.
Yeah, I'm
well,
surprised
it's
you
the
can
same
fit
car.
a gearbox in there. They're tiny.
Sorry, you can't get in. We've got a gearbox.
All right, cool. Well,
You literally sat on the back like this driving.
Like the Simpsons with a big tall guy.
It's like, can I get to work or not? I've only going 10 miles.
all right. Well, let's move on. 'Cause you didn't really pick a fight, but it felt fun because you mentioned it at the beginning in the backstage. So Amazon this week have opened a till-less grocery store in London. Now this isn't big news kind of worldwide because they've actually had these over in the US for a while, or they've had some of these in the US for a while now. But the whole concept is really quite nice in that you just kind of you breeze in, you pick up the items that you want, and you pop them into your cart. And as you drop them into the cart, there's obviously scanners, or sensors that detect what it is that you've put in, and then they just add that to your bill. And then you literally just sort of pop it into the cart, and pop it into the bags and walk out the door. There's no checkout process.
I think it might even be smarter than that, because what I read was if you leave the shop with the item, you've paid for it. So you don't have to put it into a shopping basket that's got sensors on it. It's all done with cameras in the shop as well. So I think it's even smarter than just having like a sensitive trolley or something. If you put it in your bag or if you leave the shop with it, you're paying for it. And there's hundreds of cameras.
Wow.
So could I get some chocolate or some beef and just hide it in people's bags and they're paying for it?
You could. You could just eat it in the shop. Cheap lunch. Cheap lunches. Where are we going for lunch? Going to Amazon Fresh. It's on me.
That is far cooler than I thought it would be, and yet you're quite right. Here, there's a little section here where it's showing them actually tracking the people around the store.
And
I mean, that's not creepy, is it?
Yeah, there's quite a bit of concern. It doesn't use facial recognition, but it's obviously taking a lot of data and a lot of analytics. But there's a kind of concern from the kind of Big Brother approach of dystopian supermarkets. I mean, it's hardly Handmaid's Tale material, really. My shopping's not at all interesting, and it's quite repetitive. Wine, Haribo's,
and haggis.
I've got to say, at this stage, you're sounding like a bodybuilder who's just trying to do that last cut before he goes on show, which is dehydrate themselves with a load of wine and then buff themselves up with some Haribos. Interesting. So Mags is on the stream this morning. Good morning, Mags.
Hey, Mags.
She says she was over in San Francisco last year and actually did exactly this. And you're quite right, Martin. You literally just walk in, grab the juice, and walk out.
What if? See, Mags is still doing it. She just keeps going to shops and just walking back out with stuff.
So just Waitrose, just walking in, walking out. Brilliant. Yeah. No, but so I've obviously read the wrong article because I read up on this and I saw it was the one where you're still popping it into a basket. No. Not that it is obviously tracking you through your device as you go in. Where do you go? Which items were removed from the shelf when you were there, and then walking back out. I'm not sure. I mean, this isn't going to work in my local Aldi where, despite COVID conditions, someone's still reaching across you to get to the onions because it's that important that they get the onions. But this is amazing.
You wonder. So I think they're looking at actually selling this potentially the technology into other supermarkets. Your supermarkets have got your scan and go. You've got your self-service. Self-service seems to have a great adoption.
Yeah.
Scan and go in my shop. You huge queues, and I'm the only person there who's going straight through. But I like the idea that I don't even need to do the scanning.
It's really good, yeah, and this is totally different. Now, I do remember I saw a Marks and Spencer's sort of Microsoft AI learning with cameras in stores example last year, I think it was, or maybe the year before, where they were using cameras in a mock-up to say, the items running out in this aisle, or there's contention in this aisle for too many shoppers trying to get to the same items. So they were kind of using cameras in that way to better figure out the flow of how products should go in the store. But this is next level. This is really, really clever, and it is the worst part of the shopping experience, isn't it? I mean, here we are, first world problems, but it's the worst part of the shopping experience. You put everything in the cart and then queue up and take everything back out.
Now you'll have to queue to leave the shop. Too many
people trying to leave at once. And Ben's got a good point. It's get everything delivered. Sorry, we don't all shop at Ocado, darling Ben. Some of us are in Aldi, and Aldi don't do deliveries.
Yet.
Well, that's cool. That's really good stuff. And again, somebody forward thinking from Amazon.
Morrison's.
Oh, still fancy pants. Anyway, Amazon are not beyond making gaffes, are they? So we saw an interesting item that came up with Amazon this week. I didn't see this, Martin. You spotted this and have let us know. So just tell us what is happening here.
Well, apparently, it's been spotted that their new rebranding has a likeness to Hitler. Honestly, Unless
dear.
somebody points, so the one on the left
Yeah.
is the original one. So they've changed it so it looks less like Hitler by folding up the corners. Honestly, unless somebody says to you it looks a little bit like Hitler, you don't think it looks like Hitler. Hitler
I
is
would
not
never have
famed for his
considered it.
smile.
No.
Yeah, he's not famed for smiling. You know, he's not a happy-go-lucky chap. But apparently, that is your brown box that you get delivered with the tape on it.
That's the
And the
sticky
logo.
tape.
That's
That's
the
what I would have
sticky
said.
tape.
Yeah.
So now they've changed it slightly, and the new design invokes anticipation. Apparently.
Oh, because you're peeling open the box.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, I
I
can't
like
wait
that.
to get my deliveries.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to gloss on past this one because I always fear that this is one of those things that someone's going to get offended by, and
Yeah, we shouldn't spend too much time
I
talking about
can't see
Hitler.
it.
you can't see it. You can't see the resemblance. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Good.
Google Hitler.
Let's move on. So let's talk about this person.
Who's
So
that?
this person is obviously very famous.
Britney Spears.
It is not Britney Spears, Martin. Try again.
Kylie Minogue.
No.
Is it Toya?
No.
Okay.
No. Ben, have you got any idea who this
I
person
have
is?
no idea.
No. Well, clearly, I mean, because, you know, I'm so young and hip. This is Grimes.
Oh,
Grimes.
right.
She's a, sorry, I nearly said California. A
I
Canadian singer.
I thought grime was a genre.
It is, but this is Grimes.
Oh.
Now,
I thought we were an illness.
no, oh good God, Grimes is famous this week because Grimes has sold her artwork and has made around $5 million by selling her artwork, but by not really selling her artwork. So
Right.
what she's done is there's a concept which is called non-fungible tokens, NFTs. Now, this is a blockchain type technology. Okay, so it's basically a token that allows you to own something, an asset. Okay, and that asset could be a piece of artwork. So it is literally the digital rights to something. So she has sold a piece of artwork, or several pieces of artwork, in fact. One of them alone went for around $360,000.
Wow.
Okay, so she made in a couple of days $5 million by selling something, but wasn't really selling something.
So when we say artwork, we're referring to her music.
Well, so there's artwork and there's actual imagery that goes with it. So I'll give you an example of the piece of artwork that sold for $360,000. Here it is. So it's this lovely piece that is on Instagram. And this is where it gets more confusing, right? Because this thing is widely viewable on the internet. And you can hear the music, you can watch the video, you can see the artwork in action, but someone has bid and now owns the rights to this piece of artwork at $360,000. And the way that they own it is with an NFT, a non-fungible token. Yeah. So in other words, a tiny little Bitcoin string that says they are the rightful owner of this piece.
Is it partial ownership or complete ownership? So is it like a crowdfunding, as in you lots of people pitch in and everybody gets like a percentage of the overall?
No. This person in this case totally owns this piece of art.
I misunderstood it completely then.
Now, what I find weird about this is, sorry, just to jump in because Alex is right as well. Hey, Alex. Alex points out that Grimes is Mrs. Elon Musk. So that might be more of a reference that you guys can understand. But what I find odd about this is, like in traditional art world, okay, you might own a piece of art and you might choose to donate it to a gallery where it can be seen. Yeah.
Or you might put it in a Swiss bank and hide it.
Yeah, you might just own that piece of art and you spend millions on it and you put it in a vault, or you put it in your own home and it's yours to enjoy, and you clearly own it and it is yours. What I'm struggling with here is someone's bid $360,000. They've paid $360,000. to own that piece of art that I've just shown you that is visible on Instagram. And so what is the benefit of them owning it? Why what's the value that they've achieved, I guess, for their $360,000?
See, I glossed over it. I did see it in the news, and I thought that the concept was you were almost like kind of crowdfunding. So you're buying a percentage of it, and then you, as it goes up in value, you get something back, or else you can sell your rights, stocks essentially.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought it was like that. And then when I seen it was about artwork, I thought actually I could buy part of a famous piece of art, and it will appreciate, or most likely appreciate in value, and probably a better investment. But that's clearly not what it is. But
yeah, and that's exactly it. So that's where my idea of ownership becomes a bit fuzzy on this, because in that scenario, exactly as you've described, you would own a portion of that artwork. It would be in some way, like if I think about movies or television, it's licensed and viewable, and people will pay, for that, and so therefore the art itself has a tangible value that can appreciate, and so you might sell your stake in that later on. That makes perfect sense to me. Here with these, certainly the auctions that have happened this week, they don't really own the artwork. They kind of own the bragging rights to say, hey, that's mine. That thing that you're watching on Instagram there. But
a better use of the money.
How does that appreciate in value for them? I don't understand.
And a better use of your money there would be actually employ some artists, let them produce material for you, which you will own, and you could have a lot more of them, and you're supporting struggling artists. Or not struggling artists.
Yeah. Well, and I would argue that Grimes is not a struggling artist, as as it goes.
Apparently her husband's quite well off.
He's doing all right. Yeah, I'm not sure they're actually married. There's some, but yeah, I think, and that's the whole thing as well. Is some people come out and say, well, the art's not even that good. The reason that she's got these is because of who she is. And that's why people have spent that much money on them. But fine, okay. It's just, I don't know, this whole idea. So NFTs, non-fungible tokens, such a stupid phrase, has been a concept for quite a while. And I assume you could both adequately tell me the difference between a fungible and a non-fungible token.
Sorry, you're breaking up.
Pardon?
Sorry. Hello.
Well, luckily, and I'm not just going to read this out loud, but a fungible token might be something, for example, like a $10 bill, where if I gave you a $10 bill or a £10 note, as long as you gave me back another £10 note, the value is the same. Okay, it doesn't have to be the exact same £10 note that I gave to you. You can give me any £10 note, and the value is the same. That would be a fungible representation of a token because they have a specific value. £10 in that case. A non-fungible token would be something where it doesn't have a specific value and it is unique and also rare. Okay, so in this case, these NFTs are literally one of a kind where they're tied to a piece, the ownership rights to a specific piece of art. So it is like having that license that says, I own the Mona Lisa. You could have on the blockchain, you could have a non-fungible token that says, I own the Mona Lisa. What I actually own is very clear. This is the token of value that's associated with that. And then it's tradable for an amount of actual cash. So with fungible tokens, $10 is $10. With non-fungible tokens, very much like having a fancy car, it's worth as much as someone is prepared to pay for it. All makes sense? We're all happy with NFTs? Everybody off to go and buy artwork.
Well, I know what Martin's doing this evening. He's going to be putting all his artwork up for sale.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, I could try. I will take both fungible and non-fungible payments.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I'm going to take them to Amazon Fresh, and I'm going to exchange them for
forgot, Martin, that you are in fact a struggling artist.
I am a struggling artist.
So...
I'm struggling to produce art, is what I'm doing.
Oh, brilliant. All right, well, let's move kicking and screaming into some more technology type things. So we had Microsoft Ignite this week. Have you guys been keeping up on the Ignite announcements?
I think I encouraged people last week to partake, and then didn't take up my own advice because I was too busy working.
Well, I think that's fair, and because we're not traveling over to see these things, actually the time difference is a bit
focus was really difficult. The time difference, you've got work commitments, etc. So unless you're going to take time out, as I mentioned last week, for me, go back and look, find out what the highlights are from other people who sat and spent the whole week watching it, and then follow up. That's my approach.
Lucky
So,
for
Scott, what were you doing this week?
And lucky for the audience, here's an example of some of those things. So let's just have a quick look into some of the things that are happening with Teams this week, because Teams is obviously hugely popular. And continues to be one of the big sources of Microsoft's development activities. So some really nice changes coming into the meetings that are happening around Teams. So here we've got this nice dynamic view where we've got the resizable windows, because I think we've all kind of put up with how Teams shows video at the moment and how it handles multiple people joining in at different times and kind of not really, having any kind of resize capability of what's going on with the windows. So now these dynamic views are actually, you can see here from the example, much better than we've had before with Teams.
That's right, yeah.
So this is really nice. And it says it's rolling out soon. I always see soon as being like within the next 2 to 3 months. But some of these features that say are rolling out soon have actually already hit our tenant. So it might actually be quicker than that, which is really nice. So dynamic view is a fantastic one. But also presenter mode. So we just did a video recently on the best way to use PowerPoint within Microsoft Teams and actually presenting your slides that way. So shameless plug for our YouTube channel, go and check that out. But in presenter mode here, this one you can see specifically, you've got the option of having your side-by-side video, or what it's doing is it's using that background intelligence to cut you out from the background and pop you in front of the content. So actually they can see you and they can see the slides, which again, something that we've been missing when we've been doing Teams meetings. So that's really nice. I'm not sure people are going to go for the bit where they stick themselves in front of the content.
I think that's the one that looks worse. The side-by-side looks perfect, actually. I've been doing some presentation stuff in the last few days, and that would have greatly helped me, I think. I would have felt more comfortable with it as well.
No, because it's more of that natural experience, isn't it? Where you're standing up in front of a you're presenting and you're pointing and that kind of stuff.
That's a good point.
I think that the main reason I don't think it's going to work in this layover mode is it looks great when it's staged like this, but in reality, when people are working from home or even in the office, the background isn't very well even. And so when you flip on the view that says, hey, cut me out from the background, it doesn't always work. So I know we've worked with a few people who have like a set background piece, and it's sometimes it's their company logo or some awards that they've won or whatever. But because they don't have a clear background behind them, kind of half their head is missing sometimes when they're in and out of the camera view, and so it doesn't quite work. That's going to be the same here, because it's relying on that same basic intelligence that's built into Teams to chop you out from your background. So unless people are going to start popping green screens behind them, 20 quid on Amazon, but who cares? No one's going to be doing this to go boom, big green screen. That cutout view, I don't think it's really going to work. But I'm with you, Martin. I think that side by side is really good. I think that's really nice.
Like
but better than that, because I think, yes, it's important for people to see me when I'm presenting. It's more important that you can see them so that you can see the response. So the PowerPoint Live in Microsoft Teams. Now, again, this is something that we did a video on the channel. So go and check out the YouTube for this. This is much more important because this is sharing PowerPoint properly so that you can see your slides, the slides that are coming up, your notes, and you can still see the video of everyone who's in the meeting. So you can actually you can sense the feedback, you can gauge the audience reaction, you can tell if people have fallen asleep, all that kind of good stuff. This is a much better way to do those presentations. And we've been experimenting with this internally. How have you guys found it?
Well, Martin, were you using this yesterday?
No. I know. Yeah, I should have used it. I wish I had. I didn't think it through.
Well, so tell me why it wasn't a good experience then, and that will back up why you should use this.
I had a lot of windows to present, various windows to present. I was going to chop between them, and I had the PowerPoint which was going to go. As soon as I launched the PowerPoint, I actually shared my desktop on my laptop, and then I had my notes and the other stuff on another screen. But as soon as you do it, your meeting video just disappears down into the corner, and then I've just lost the audience, and I've got too busy a desktop that I couldn't find them to put them back. And I didn't. Right, can you please stop whilst I find you guys so I can then. So it was awkward, and that was my. Yeah, if I had done it like this, it would have been a lot easier, I think.
I think it is, because you get to stay in control. And now, I can see the change as well in here. It's showing the video of the participants across the top and down the side.
Mm-hmm.
At the moment, you don't get to choose those where they go. So in this newer release of PowerPoint Live, you'll actually get to control that a bit better as well. I think I still take your point. This is great for PowerPoint. If you need to flip back to the desktop and show some desktop content, then you're still going to lose some of that experience. But hopefully that will keep improving as they've gone down this track. Something else we spotted in a PowerPoint in a meeting that we had internally this week was live reactions. We've all seen these on LinkedIn when you're doing LinkedIn lives, and you get the little thumbs up and the little hearts. We might even be getting some right now. Who knows? We don't get to see them live, unfortunately. We see them afterwards, and so we go back and watch the footage and do all the timestamps for YouTube, and we see all the thumbs up and the love hearts. We're like, oh, I wish we'd have seen those in the actual session. That is brilliant. So Kendall says he's quite happy not to see the people who he presents to. He'd be horrified to see them yawning and asleep and shouting to wake them up. That's amazing. Kendall, I have sat in your presentations, and it is not like that, mate. You are quite the personality, so there's no way that people are yawning and sleeping through your...
I do take his point, though. Maybe it's best not to know sometimes.
I love it. So live reactions are great. I think some nice thumbs up and some applause, those kind of things. We see it in LinkedIn Live. It's nice if we can see it in Teams as well. It's just a bit more fun, isn't it? It's just adding a bit of fun and character. All right, I'll just move on to webinars, because webinars is actually something that we talked about 2 weeks ago on our live session, where we talked about this mysterious announcement. So this was the announcement of a new service plan for Teams Pro. And Teams Pro, we didn't really know much about it at the time. We didn't really know what they were hinting at, but it did kind of talk about some webinar capabilities. Was it going to be an extra cost? What else did we need to do to it? Well, actually, that's all become really clear now. So there's no additional cost for this. It is actually in the license that you have already. And what it is, as we suspected when we talked about this initially, it's the ability for you to pop into Teams, and instead of making a meeting or a live event, it's actually create a webinar. And that webinar has a sign up where we can customize the questions that we ask them on sign up. But even better than that, once we've done the sign up and we sent that out to everybody, we can then track who actually attended the meeting. So these are plugging in a couple of gaps that we just totally have in Teams today. We can happily use Teams for webinars, but we don't get any of this custom sign-up information, and we don't get to know who attended unless someone sits there and watches the participant lists and then makes a note to say who came. Now this is all getting automated inside webinars in Teams. So really, really good news. I think this will be a really good feature. And again, it's something that we've had in other technologies like GoToMeeting and things like that. We've had those before. We've even had other websites that wrap around Teams that kind of give you the sign up and then generate the Teams meeting for you and then track the attendance that way. Now It's all done inside Teams. So
it's really, really nice. You just keep that within an application that you're using daily. It's just familiarity. You're more likely to do it. You'll be more comfortable. And it's free. I think that's really good.
Yeah, no, I think it's absolutely fantastic. What else have we got? So the other thing that I picked up on that was interesting, again, something we talked about previously, was app approvals. So if you remember, I'm just going to flip down here. It's a really nice page, which we'll share the link to, actually, which has got some of the great summaries. But app approvals. So we talked about this 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I think now, when we did a live session about it. So the whole idea is that you can quickly use Teams for making approvals for various tasks. Could be overtime, could be shift changes, could be those kind of things. And at the time, it was really, really simplistic. So what you could do is you could create a request. You could pop that in and you could say, here's my request. here's who I need to sign it off, and then it would go through and just get tracked, and either that thing got approved or declined, and there was a bit of feedback that went with it. One of the first things that we said was, you know what that needs is some kind of template, because if we're really going to change a business process, then we probably need to say, these are the minimum things you need to tell me to approve this. Like if you want a shift change, like who you're changing shifts with, I need to ask some questions. Or if I'm going to sign off, a change control. And I think the example we used when we made the video about this is, adding global admins to a Office 365 tenant. That should be a change that is tracked and approved and then stored somewhere so that we know who gave access. Great, okay, nice for compliance. Does there need to be a document that's filled in? Which document should be filled in? And should that be attached every time we make one of these requests? None of that templating was there. But the beauty is now, and again, they're obviously listening to the user voice forums and taking the feedback in seriously. You're now able to design the basic form and the basic questions for approval. And also you can recommend or suggest the documents that need to be attached for that approval to go through. So again, really, really nice that that's happening and that they're changing these things really quickly. I think the speed at which they're developing things in Teams is fantastic. Yeah. And it's making me look at SharePoint and kind of question all the things that were traditionally done in SharePoint now. So those forms and those processes and all those things that are done in SharePoint are all more and more flowing into Teams. Now, I know Teams is, in the nicest possible way, a fancy front end for SharePoint, OneDrive, Skype, as was for the telephony system, and bringing all that together inside Office 365 groups. But what I'm seeing now is that more of that development activity, building these processes, can happen directly in Teams rather than having to go to SharePoint. And so, are we getting to a point where actually SharePoint isn't our focus? Isn't that focus? Because it's always kind of been. For me, it's always been one of those back-end things. Some companies use it, most companies don't. But there's some really great capabilities in there that we're now able to put in Teams and, again, make it really simple to consume.
It's making it accessible as well. That's easily consumed and putting the kind of power back in the hands of the end user, which is really good.
Yeah, and it looks easy. When I'm looking at it here, this looks really, really simple.
That's the thing. If you start building things in SharePoint, you pretty much need to be a developer when it's that easy just to do something as simple as that within Teams. It's a no-brainer, really. You're going to do it where it's easy.
No, and I think that was it. When we talked about approvals the first time, we said, it's limited in what it can do. It can only do a certain amount of things. And it was missing things like templates. And templates are here now, so that's nice. There are limited things that it can do. But that will work for a number of businesses. That will, someone will be able to get on, click some buttons and build an approval process flow really, really quickly without needing to go to a specialist. That's not to say that if you do need all of that great stuff, all that complex ability, then there's absolutely, there's great partners out there that we work with that would, happily build you a complex set of workflow tools that, live inside SharePoint still. But it's nice to just see some of this, commoditization, democratization of data. What? I'll move on before I use any more buzzwords.
Yeah, please do.
Cool. So, Martin, we might have finally found Martin's marvelous minute or minutes, because Ben's got Tech Corner, and we've been looking for a segment for you. Now, there were two interesting announcements from Ignite that are specific to Teams and telephony that I think you are uniquely positioned to talk us through.
Thanks.
And you look dead excited about it. So,
Operator Connect was one of them.
Operator Connect.
Yeah, I thought you were going to give an intro jingle or something there.
No, so
copyright.
But now the gauntlet has been thrown down.
The seed has been sown.
So tell me a little bit about Operator Connect for Microsoft Teams.
So from a very high level, so at the moment you can take your calling, you've got your options for Microsoft calling, taking it directly from Microsoft, and then providing you with your PSTN access and your calling plans. Or you could do direct routing yourself, or you could do direct routing with a partner. This is now opening that up, so it's a bit like doing the calling plans with Microsoft, but you're selecting a partner from within the Teams portal. So for me, that's great. And it's going to open up those opportunities. I can imagine Microsoft will stop doing it themselves over time.
Mhm.
You know, why would they continue when they've got all these partners and a growing number of partners as well? There's ones on there. You've got Pure IP. They've made some announcements on theirs. BT and Orange Business there. So there's and Tata Communications. So big companies, and these ones are already available. So you'll just be lighting up your calling via those. And if you're already with that partner, then obviously your numbers are there. You'll be able to, I presume, retain your numbers. And it'll be a much smoother, easier transition to PSTN calling. I imagine it'll be a lot cheaper as well than going with Microsoft. Still to see. It'd be nice to try it out as well. So yeah, it's interesting. You wonder for those who are, is there any point in doing direct routing other than integration into legacy PBXs and migrations or migration from Skype, etc.? I just question that. Now, if it works and if all the features are there, and well, obviously it'll work, but if all the features are there, then I think it'd be a no-brainer rather than investing in direct routing and doing stuff on premise.
Okay, I can see it's probably going to cause a bit of disruption in the partner market for this.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what I can see, because at the minute you either go with Microsoft telephony because you're as a customer, your requirements are simple. Yeah, you need phone calls in and out, bit of voicemail. You don't have anything that I would consider to be complex. And when I say complex, I specifically think around contact center and call recording. You don't need those. You're probably a smaller organization, so you're quite prepared to pay, £12 per user per month or whatever it is to just have those telephony features turned on. Simple requirements, prepared to pay the £12 fine. Outside of that, everyone else who's sort of bringing direct routing into Teams, all those kind of UK MSP partners that we see and we deal with, they are trading against and saying, hey, well, actually, you have complex requirements, Mr. Customer. You need contact center, call recording, or actually you're a large organization and so the scale of the Microsoft price point doesn't work for you. So I can bring you a block of 50,000 minutes a month and you can share it up amongst everybody, and the economies of scale work much better when you do it with us. So cool. So those partners have got a great direct routing answer. Now there's kind of this third option where a select number of partners are being integrated directly at the Microsoft point at the top. And so when you go into the portal, you can either take, Microsoft calling, you can take a calling plan from one of these select partners, or you could engage a third party partner who can bring direct routing in. Now, for me, if I'm one of those partners in the UK that's kind of looking at this stuff, I'd want to know, how do I get on this program? Because if I've got contact center and call recording, how do I get certified into Operator Connect so that I become one of these partners? If I buy through a wholesaler, how do I make sure my wholesaler, is on this list and they can get through into the Operator Connect? Because I think, Martin, your point's really interesting, which was that there's an opportunity here where Microsoft don't do the calling themselves at all. We know in reality that they back it off to one or more of these partners, and actually service that in the background. But at the moment, they are the phone system provider to those customers who take direct calling from them. So when something goes wrong with the phone system, you've got to raise that ticket with Microsoft. And Microsoft are very much a partner-led organization. So that end user triage and support and service and management isn't what they're scaled up to do. In reality, that's where they lean on partners to take advantage of the technology and provide the service wrap around it. So I think you're right. I can see a world where they say, hey, we have all these Operator Connect guys who can do the direct calling, very much like you can take calling plans from us. We don't need to offer calling plans anymore. I think that makes sense.
When you mention that the complex needs of most companies when it comes to telephony, my thoughts is that's changing, and actually the complex needs is generally speaking in a subset of a part of a business. As you say, contact center or a set of users who have particular requirements, that can be separated out and you can still integrate with what you've got there. And the majority of people now, their calling needs are pretty simple. And how often do you get calls now that are not, well, maybe it's a little bit unfair, but for us, most of the calls would be between each other. Most businesses will be using Teams or they're using Skype, so they're just communicating directly. They've got federation, so you're now calling all your partners using Teams and Skype. You're calling by name. Your telephony part of it is kind of maybe dwindling slightly. So therefore, just having the ability to phone mobiles and other providers, etc., our businesses on their geographical numbers, having that ability, I don't think it gets used that much, or a lot less than it did. And then you partner for those specific needs, which a lot of those organisations will be able to offer anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I'll bow to your knowledge on that because you have much wider experience of seeing this at scale than I do. But I mean, I can still see a world where there's there's organizations who run contact centers for whom it's very important that there's still essentially a desk on the a phone on the desk, a contact center. There's wallboard applications. There's still a lot of those organizations. But I take your point, which is for the majority of organizations that don't run a contact center, actually Teams with telephony, and even now, the cloud-based contact centers that integrate into Teams, the APIs are getting better all the time.
A lot of change.
You've got Operator Connect, you've got cloud-based contact centers. This can all integrate quite nicely without having, any of that separate providers. And I don't know. I think it's just going to cause a little bit of disruption.
I think
as the providers start to adapt to this way of working.
And then what will the competition look like within that when you've got it in your Team's admin console? Then you've got this you're going to have a price war.
Is it just going to be a shopping list of buy whoever's cheap? I don't know.
We'll find out more on that.
We'll keep an eye on it, right? I think this is it. We'll keep watching this. It's an interesting change. I think it's going to cause a lot of noise with the partner. So let's keep an eye on it. All right. So the second thing is a bit simpler to understand. So this is, where's my screen gone? There you go. So this is SIP Gateway. Tell me a bit more.
Yeah, so it's a cloud-based SIP gateway to allow you to retain your investment in your phone system, or your phones, your handsets that you've got. I had been doing some work with somebody not that long ago, and they had recently bought a whole load of VVXs, and they're going to Teams, and it was like, what we do? We need to buy more handsets. But what do we buy the same ones? And you can do it. I know you can do other integrations so you can continue to use those handsets, but this is just going to make it a lot easier for people to, use that existing investment until such times as they either replace it or they just die away as handsets do and end up in the bin.
So, I can hear it phone ringing now. I'm old school.
That's not mine. It's the last time I heard a phone ringing like that. But so it's just keeping that investment. So that'll be really good for a lot of companies. It'll make it a lot easier to migrate in the future and use their existing investment. Because it comes up all the time, doesn't it? It's like, well, we've already got these handsets. Can we use them? Yes, but they'll not be quite as good, or you'll lack features, etc. So hopefully this will improve that greatly.
Well, I think it's a good thing. When we look at someone who's got an existing investment of 100 or 200 of the Yealink T42s or whatever they are, and now you're saying actually you can use those with Teams going forward. Because it's otherwise it's a really costly thing to go around, not just having the phones dropped out, but also replace them all and then
and then replacing a handset for a handset. When you've made that investment in the last few years, it's a bit pointless.
And it'll feel like, okay, well, we just spent another few grand on brand new handsets everywhere. Did they do anything different to the last ones? No, they just work with Teams. Brilliant. Okay.
Or we could just get headsets. It's a lot easier.
Well, there's always that thing about having the chat with the personas and going headsets, handsets, soft phones, desk phones. There's always that. But I think it's great. I think it's a good opportunity, to be able to bring in those old handsets and use them with Teams. So that's really good. Cool. Well, in the next segment that we absolutely need some kind of introduction music for, so I will set out the challenge for Kaylee to get an intro built. It is Ben's Tech Corner. We should make you full center stage. There we are, Mr. Ben.
Thanks.
Ben, so this week something really, really nasty happened, didn't it? What is going on?
So people probably were already, but yeah, the exchange vulnerabilities all the way from 2010 to 2019, quite scary in a way. I think state sponsored as well. So there's, if you want to bring that up, yeah. So basically, a group of hackers, well, apparently linked to China.
Yeah, let's go with allegedly linked to China. Although I think the research has been done to say absolutely this was a state-sponsored attack.
But bearing in mind it is MSN News.
Well, other news articles are available.
Yeah, but yeah, go on, Scott. Yeah.
No, you're okay. Cool.
Yeah, so basically, there's a vulnerability. You need to patch. There's been lots of noise about it. So Microsoft have sent emails to partners, to customers. We've received emails from other partners ourselves. We've sent emails to customers. Basically, what you need to do is patch your Exchange servers if they're presented on the internet. And we lost Martin.
Sorry, no, it's just me trying to get you.
So so basically, yeah, you need to patch your servers. Aim for your front end servers first, so basically your servers exposed to the internet. If you're in any ATP or anything on there, Microsoft have released the ability to actually track, and there's a load of information on some of the blog posts as well on how you can actually see whether you've been compromised by going through loads of log files and things like that. But I think if you just go ahead and get your servers patched, it takes quite a while to do an install, so it's complete outage for that particular server. But if you've got multiple load balancing and stuff, it'll help. And yeah,
I was going to say, so this goes all the way back to Exchange 2010, right?
Yep, and they've released a patch for like a defense in depth based patch for 2010 as well, even though it's not necessarily under support. I think it went out of support. Is that this year? I can't remember now. But yeah, basically there's
it was October last year.
Yeah, I thought it had, yeah. So basically they've released an out of schedule defense in depth protection patch for those guys as well for 2010. But yeah, if you're in 2010, you need to be well aware of getting as quick as way.
But it was 2010, 2016, 2019, even all versions of Exchange on premise were affected by this. Exactly. Exchange Online not affected at all.
But even if you're in hybrid, you've still got on premise. So you need to bear in mind that you've still got a vulnerability.
You've still got that, yeah. If you've got hybrid running and you've got some mailboxes on premise, you might still have effectively the front door open to allow the whole hybrid thing to work. Even people with all mailboxes on Exchange Online still leave that endpoint open. You don't necessarily have to, but some people do. So you still need to get that Exchange patched and do it as soon as possible if you can.
Yeah, and I guess the simple story there is if you're still running Exchange on premise, I mean, firstly, why? Do you absolutely need to do that? Can you get them migrated to 365, even if it's you move to an Exchange hybrid edition, and then get those on-premise servers up to the latest versions, remove the mailboxes from them, have the mailboxes sat in online, and then keep the patches as up to date as possible. I mean, the good news is, that we get alerted to these things straight away. And I got alerted from so many different channels into my direct inbox as well to say, this is something that absolutely needs to happen. So at least the awareness is really happening now.
Yeah.
But it just feels to me, Exchange is one of those commodity things. You don't need to be running it yourself anymore. And we're working with so many clients to move them away from having dependencies, of sticking it on site. I think it's fair to say if you had a large Exchange infrastructure on premise, it isn't going away. You still need to maintain something, but you can get rid of all the mailboxes, all the mailbox servers, all the database servers, all of that stuff can go because you can migrate it into Exchange Online, and you can just run a management server role that keeps that integration with AD, right?
Yep.
I have learned something. Yes.
Bear in mind, that is Exchange, though, so you still need to patch it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It still needs patching.
But it's not going to have any impact on business if you were to do that. Whereas doing this just now, it's going to have a bit of an outage. You do need to restart services, better to reboot the servers if it doesn't prompt you for it anyway, and make sure that the current patch levels are up before you actually do the emergency
Yeah,
patches
what's
as
interesting,
well.
they've only released the actual security patches for the last 2 cumulative updates as well. So you need to you should be running those two anyway, but you need to be,
Yeah,
Okay.
don't just go firing that on and think, oh,
Yeah.
oops.
So it isn't. So actually, for some of the people who aren't, maintaining the estate as well as they should do, and we all know everyone gets busy. Although there are patches, they depend on you being on one of these two
On
previous
one of the
cumulative updates.
The last 2,
So if you're not there, then they're going to have a bigger step to actually get up to the cumulative update and then apply the security patch. I mean, it's all good stuff that needs to happen. It's probably just all good stuff that you wouldn't want to be doing in a pinch, in a massive, emergency maintenance window, because there's risks and issues if you're going from such a low level of patching all the way up.
And it's a complete service restart as well on the Exchange server in question you're running on, so it's literally completely down. So
but again, I think you're much better to have that and do it, in a controlled fashion with your engineers than leave the risk open for someone to come in and just exploit it.
Yeah.
Especially now that it's out in the wild, because although, yes, this initial incident was traced back to, state-based activists in China, the knowledge is there now. The genie's out of the bottle, so people will be looking for this across.
There's active exploits out there, so Microsoft even said that. Hence why literally they've sent 1 million emails to everyone.
And future exploits as well. But and there is a script on GitHub for checking if you've been affected by it already.
Cool. Okay. If you get me that script, I will pop it in the descriptions, and so that we can let people know here and on YouTube as well. Cool. I think that is everything for today, guys. Unless you've got any more for me.
No, all good.
Great. What a fantastic session. Thank you again. This is genuinely the most we've spoken to each other all week because we've all just been off on separate projects. So it's lovely to see you. Thank you for everyone online for joining in. Great to see people in the comments and getting involved. And we will be back, not next week, but the week after with another live session. So we'd love to see you there. Thanks very much. Have a great weekend, guys.
Thank you. Cheers.
See you later. Goodbye.
Cheers. Bye. Bye.